This video is for everybody, especially the race drivers that watch this channel, who are working tirelessly, absolutely working their tail off, but they don't feel like they're either progressing or they're feeling burnt out. And the question, it was actually a comment on my YouTube channel, the question that inspired this is from Gal Adrian. As you can see, the comment's quite long, but basically he's saying that he's working 18 hours a day and he's having other people say, you know, calm down. You've got to get some rest. You've got to eat properly, sleep properly, otherwise you're going to burn out. And he doesn't feel like he's burning out, but it's on its way. And he wants to avoid it just in case it does happen. So I gave him a little comment on there, a reply, but I wanted to go a bit deeper because it is a problem. It's a problem for anyone who's chasing a career, right? I think you can empathize with this, or you can align with this. When you're trying to achieve something that's quite grand, race drivers normally want to get to like F1 or they want a career in motorsport. That is grand. That's massive. For you to be paid by a manufacturer of a car or a professional race team to race for them, that's a huge goal. And it takes so many hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades to make this happen. And a lot of money behind you, other people's money usually, but it's just a big effort. So I know that working 18 hours a day, 12 hours a day on your sport, on your career is normal. And I hear drivers all the time, because I work with a lot of drivers. I hear a lot of drivers saying that they are putting the work in, but they just don't feel like anything's coming back. And I think a lot of you watching this can align with that again. So I wanted to do this video, even though I'm on the move, which is kind of apt. It's kind of, this is what I've got to do as well for my work, is I'm on the move, but I've still got to do these videos. Just an example of, you know, work ethic and what it takes, which is kind of cool for this video. But I want to give you 5 tips. I want to give you 5 things that I've learned over the decades that make life a little bit easier, yet it doesn't slow down your progress. So these 5 tips, you'll get them from many people, entrepreneurs or anyone who runs a business, because I do get it, by the way. You know, I work 12 hours relentlessly, usually in my office, calling drivers, doing sessions, doing online sessions and sim sessions, talking to teams, parents, running the company, the accounts, everything. It's, you know, the marketing side of it, doing these videos, editing them, social media, website, apps, the whole lot. I pretty much do it myself. So I get it. These tips will help you, they help me. Number 1, which is obvious, is that you've got to love what you do. You must absolutely have the passion for what it is that you're doing. Sounds obvious, but there's plenty of drivers out there that can't even get themselves to work hard enough or work effectively or do the outside your comfort zone kind of jobs each day because the drive isn't there. The internal drive or the love for what they do is not genuine. You should be waking up in the morning ready to get at it. Like you think about, you open your eyes, you think of the goal, and you're just motivated by that alone. It's like, right, I've got to get up, got to get at it. What am I going to do? If you're not feeling that, there's a problem. Something's not driving you. Maybe the sport isn't just giving you anything right now. It's not giving you any love, so you're not really feeling it. Well, you've got to make sure that you re-energize that. You've got to make sure that you're in on this, because it's so hard to work like you should work if you're not in love with your career. And it's not easy. I know that. It's going to test you at times when your love for the sport is actually tested. But Steve Jobs said it pretty well when he said this.
Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do.
It's an example, right? Now, he was in love with Apple and building products and getting and just innovating. But he had weeks, months probably, when he was tested. His love was tested. You know, lawsuits, you name it, things are going on. And that is the kind of time when you need to reflect. Make sure that you're spending time doing the stuff that actually takes you forward and just look at the sport as a whole on the global scale and remind yourself what you're doing this for. You might need to do this on a daily. You might not need to do this until you start to lose motivation, but just make sure you're topping up the love. Number 2, come to terms that most of the work you do is boring. And it is. You know, coaching, help, which is what I do, obviously. Helping people progress, that's addictive. Because you put the work in, you show them exactly what they need to do, they do it, and you see them progress, and it's like, wow, that's what I live for. But I'd say, day to day, most of the stuff I do, it's boring. The marketing side, the making sure the app doesn't crash, the coaching app I use for drivers, going on the website is something I don't like there, editing the videos. Writing books is really boring, right? It pushes you to the limit when you're writing a book. I've done 3, and I'm going to do another one now. It's like self-harm at its best, right? And I don't enjoy it. It's like building a house. I use the building a house metaphor quite often for different reasons. And when you're building a house, not that I've done it, but I'm just imagining it, you've got the bricky, laying the bricks, right? Say if you're building your own house, actually. You're laying the bricks, that bit, brick by brick, making sure it's all perfect. It's not exciting. It's boring. It's a long job. It's taking forever. Digging the foundation's the same. But if you want to get a kick from actually doing each job, this is not for you. You're not going to get anywhere. You've got to understand that the boring jobs of laying the bricks, digging the foundations, doing the plumbing, putting the electrics in, whatever it is of building this house, that's not the sexy bit. The sexy bit is what you've got in your head, the vision of what the house will look like when it's done. And you just keep feeding the satisfaction of what it's going to be like when I'm there, when I'm actually in the garden, looking back at it and saying, wow, this is amazing. That's what should drive you as well. Have the grand picture in your mind on the daily, maybe a couple of times a day if you're really being tested or you're bored. It's like, right, I know this is boring, but this is just the building blocks I need to actually build that future that I've got in my mind. That keeps you going. Number 3, my third tip is ensure that progress is being made. Go back to the other video that I've done this season on the Maxi Attack system. This is holding you a way of holding you accountable on the weekly, which you bring down to the daily of, right, what jobs have I got to do this week? Actually start with the goal. What do I want to achieve this week? Which would be amazing if I did. It would be a giant leap forward, but it's kind of possible. I think I could do it if I really dedicated myself to it. What's that one goal? And then my old adage of reverse engineer exactly what you've got to do each day to get that goal, make that goal possible. And if you do this and you hold yourself accountable, you have that Excel sheet and you write it all out on a Sunday for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the week that's come in, and you have that, it's kind of like you get to the end of the week and you see if you've done it or not, you see which jobs you actually did, and that forces you to progress. And if you're not progressing, you'll expose yourself and say, look, I'm not working on these, I'm not doing this. And then the next week you make sure you are. So you must make sure that progress is happening. If you're progressing, that means you're getting fulfilled. Burnout really doesn't happen that often. Burnout happens normally when you're just putting in the work and it's monotonous and you're not getting anything back from it. It just seems like you're doing the same thing over and over again with no reward. Then you start to burn out mentally, definitely, let alone the energy and everything. So make sure you do hold yourself accountable by doing the Maxi Attack form. It's on the website, remember, on the downloads. Go and download it. Use that or invent your own to make sure that you are progressing. Number 4, make sure you're focused. Now, going back to the building example, when you're building a house, if you're laying the bricks for half an hour, but then you're starting to you're losing your concentration, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, right, I'm going to go and paint that door frame on the bit that I have bricked. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and start doing the frame. You're doing the door frame, and then you're like, oh, I really should do the bricks again. You're going back there every half an hour. You'll notice that you're just being a busy fool. And by the time you've jumped to another job and reminding yourself on what you've got to do, if it's the paint, you've got to sand it down, and that's taking ages. Then you're back to the bricks. All the bricks have all dried, and it's constant mess in your head. What I want you to do is to make sure that you do blocks of work, right? So you say, right, for the next hour or 2, however long it's going to take, I'm only going to do this task. I'm going to make sure I'm supremely focused on this one thing. If my mind wanders, I'm going to bring it back into line. I'm going to do it. Or I'm going to go and get a quick drink of water and then I'm going to get back onto it again. But I'm going to make sure I don't leave this topic, this subject, this thing I've got to do until I've definitely made progress on it. And if that's from 9 till 11, fine. If it's less, because it doesn't take that long, fine. But make sure that you block your days or break your days up to certain points when you're going to focus on one thing. Because if you're spreading yourself thin, if you're being a busy fool, it's not going to work. Again, burnout's coming. Your mind's going to be all over the place. So focus. And my last one is to take the time to rest, reflect, and relax. In the day, you've got these pivotal points. For me, I'd say it's very first thing in the morning. I make sure that I take my healthy drink, I take some vitamins, I go to the gym, I make sure that I listen to some motivational video or music just to get myself into the real. I don't need to do this, but it's just my process of escape, and I'm not going to go straight into work. I'm not going to go straight into scrolling social media. I'm going to have my time at the beginning of the day to make sure my brain is primed. Go on Spotify, look at what I put up there, the playlist, and it's the priming run video, or not video, the playlist. And you'll see that I've got one song where I do nice deep breaths. The second song, I remind myself what I'm grateful for. The third song, I start to do some activity, which is warming up on the bike or whatever. And then I start to do exercising whilst I'm thinking about what I'm going to do that day. This little gap I've got, that's not just falling into work and straight onto the laptop or the computer and I'm just doing this because it's with no energy. That's no good. I come to work to work. So I make sure I'm primed like all the race drivers do before they get in the car. I'm mentally there. I know what I'm going to work on for the first 2 hours or hour or so. Bang, I'm done it. And I have the most productive, like 8:30, I'd say, by the time I've done that, 8:30 to 10:30. That's my sweet spot. That's when I'm hitting the ground running. Then my concentration starts to wane a little bit. So I'm like, right, going to go downstairs, probably have breakfast if I haven't had it already. Have something quick to eat or a protein bar or even a coffee. Right, what's next? Look on my list. What's the most important thing? Right, I'm going to hit that next. But I've had that little break. It could be 10 minutes. Fine. It could be a bit more if you need more. Get to the middle of the day. You need an hour off. You just want to relax. Go for a jog. Go to the beach where I am right now, actually. Whatever it is you got to do. But it's good to have these little stop points in the day. So you're not just going along and doing like 18 hours straight, 7 hours straight. You won't be very productive. You need these breaks, I think, to come back with energy. And it's amazing. When I'm outside of the office, I come up with some amazing ideas, inspirations. I could be in the shower, at the gym, like, I know exactly what I'm going to do to overcome that challenge, or another idea, another thing I'm going to put in the chapter. This is really important for me, to come away from work just for half an hour or so, even less, and then back in again. And it's amazing. It's like intermittent training. It really is. It's perfect for the brain. Keeps you flexible. Make sure that you're actually eating stuff and you've got relaxation and you're not buzzing the brain all day, because it's just going to burn out, like we say. So take the breaks. Right, I hope these tips will help you, and just even if you take 1 or 2 of them, it's fine. But you have just got to make sure that you're at your best every single day. You love what you do and you're filling it full of jobs that are making you move forward. And don't forget to have a little rest now and then. It's really important. I hope this helps.